Welcome to the BuyBox Experts podcast. We bring to light the unique opportunities brands face in today's e-commerce world.
Hi, I'm James Thompson, one of the hosts of the BuyBox Experts podcast. I'm a partner with BuyBox Experts and the former business head of the Selling on Amazon team at Amazon, as well as the first account manager for the Fulfillment by Amazon program. I'm the co-author of a couple of books on Amazon, including the recent book, Controlling Your Brand in the Age of Amazon. Today's episode is brought to you by BuyBox Experts. BuyBox Experts takes ambitious brands and makes them unbeatable. When you hire BuyBox Experts, you receive the strategy optimization and marketing performance to succeed on Amazon. We also provide investors with due diligence services. Go to buyboxexperts.com to learn more. Before I introduce our guest today, I want to send a big shout out to the team at Getida, a global leader in Amazon FBA auditing and reimbursements. Getida analyzes your Amazon data, reconciles your FBA inventory, and files claims for reimbursements on your behalf. To learn more, check out getida.com. Our guest today is Jack Bijou, Head of Growth from Riverbend Consulting, a firm that helps Amazon sellers with seller performance appeals, account management, reimbursements, and today's topic, editorial reviews. Jack, welcome, and thank you for joining us today on the BuyBox Experts podcast.
James, thanks for having me. I'm happy to be on the podcast. I know this has been sort of a hot topic lately, so I'm excited to get into it.
Well, let's talk about Amazon's newly launched editorial review program. I want to start by asking you, what is this program? What does it do for Amazon customers? Why is Amazon doing this? Tell us more.
Yeah, so basically about a few years ago, Amazon handpicked about 200 or so publishers to write articles about a few Amazon listings within each category. Most often it's the top and most successful listings and brands. And the reason why is because Amazon incentivizes these publishers through affiliate commissions for these sales that come directly from the articles that they create.
Okay.
So naturally, what we've been seeing over the past years are the top brands, the top listings with the most reviews are dominating these articles. And, in terms of, the article and where it shows up and what it does, it's usually between, I would say the third and fourth row, always on the first page. Okay. Third and fourth row from the top.
Yep.
Usually right above or below sponsored video ads placement. So like I said, it's always ranked on the first page. Again, in terms of keywords and placement, it gets a little tricky on which words, but it's always on the first page and it's right there in the middle with a full article written up about usually 3 listings. So
why would brands be interested in having their products placed as one of those three different types of brands? I know it's not meant to be a dumb question, but is it something beyond just more visibility?
No, it's a great question. I think what the editorial article does for these brands is it gives them an opportunity to be seen in a completely different light than what they're used to, right? So almost every Amazon buyer today, I would say, and I would wonder if you would agree, is they all know that the first page is made up of organic listings, a few sponsored listings that people paid for, and then Amazon's choice and Amazon's own listings. And it's a combination of that, right? So the editorials come in and they give these brands an entirely new perceived value that they can't get from one of those standard placements that buyers are most used to.
So let's talk about the mechanics of how these editorial reviews work. If I'm a brand and I want to participate or seek to participate in this program, what do I need to do to be eligible to participate in having my brand reviewed and potentially included in the editorial reviews?
Yeah, so it's most importantly, besides we'll go through the requirements, a few requirements that's needed.
Mm-hmm.
But the most important thing that I tell all clients and all sellers if they ask about the editorial program is you got to submit good listings, right? You have to submit listings that you're constantly in stock, you're reordering, you're pushing through deals, through coupons, through PPC, through video ads, off-market tools, anything you can do, and you're pushing the listing. It has thousands of reviews, it's ranked really well. Those are the listings that will do well. Now, we have to make a line somewhere, right? Because we want the ability to get our clients into these spots or have the publishers choose them, right? So the basic requirements are 100 reviews, a 4-star rating, and we highly recommend less than a 50,000 rank in your main category. So home and kitchen, clothing, shoes and jewelry, health and household,
Yes.
sports and outdoors, under 50,000.
So I think of PPC as a tool where anybody can participate if they're willing to spend enough money. It sounds like the editorial review program, you already have to be reasonably well established on Amazon to be considered, even if in fact your brand has long history outside of Amazon. None of that's going to help you unless you've already established yourself on Amazon.
Yeah, it's exactly that. And it's a very different, it's a very different play than PPC or anything in that world where you can pay per click, you can choose the keywords, you can set your budget, you could turn it on, you could turn it off, you can go after your competitors. We have ACE and targeting campaigns you can do. There's all different type of PPC campaigns, video ads, right? But editorial is at the publisher's discretion, right? You really can't do much besides making sure your listing is up to par, doing the right things, having the amount of reviews, and just getting on their radar enough for them to say, hey, this is a good listing, let's add it.
So let's say I am a brand that has these requirements you've talked about. How do I access these 200 or so organizations that are writing these reviews? How do I tap into that?
Yeah, so obviously, Riverbend, we have a relationship that we built with these publishers and with this network of publishers. So we're able to offer clients and sellers the opportunity to get in front of these publishers through us, right? Now, just for a second, if you don't use Riverbend, right, and you just try and, research some publishers that you see on Amazon writing articles and you try and get in touch with them, it's usually extremely difficult. And even if you do, it might be one publisher that might not even be so relevant to your category. It's a tough play, but obviously there are big sellers that have relationships with certain publishers and, share them the listings that they have and see if they can get them in. But what we do is we'll take a listing, we have to vet it out, obviously, and qualify the listing, make sure it's good enough to even submit. Once we do that, it's basically putting it in front of the publishers and asking them, listen, take a look at this list of listings, right? Do you want to pick it up? If you want, let us know that you did. We'll let our client know. And that's the whole relationship. So we're not telling them, hey, you must pick this article up or you must pick this listing up, which some people think that it's, here's a list of listings. If you choose to add it, let us know and we'll monitor it.
So let's imagine I sell tents, and every tent company out there, every big tent company says they want to participate in this program. And you've got some editorial review organization with 10 submissions of different tents. How does Amazon figure out which ones they're going to take, which ones they're not going to take? How does those mechanics work?
Yeah, again, that's a really good question. So before it even gets to Amazon, right, it has to go through the publishers. So if the publishers write up the article, they're responsible to send it to Amazon. Now, Amazon can also decline an article. So there's really two levels, right? It has to go through the publishers and then through Amazon because they're ultimately the ones posting it. Now, if you have a situation where there's multiple articles in Amazon system for the same product type, even the same keywords, right? Because Amazon indexes the articles based off of the keywords. What Amazon will do is they will evaluate each article and say, okay, which one deserves to be shown more? So let's say you have a keyword tents and there's 100,000 searches a month for tents. And there's 10 articles that were submitted for tents. So Amazon will basically say, okay, this article did really well. We'll show it 40% of the time. This article was up for a few months, didn't do much. We're going to take it down. And that's how Amazon's algorithm runs with these articles.
So let's talk about, what does it mean it doesn't do much or it does much? Are we looking at the number of reads, number of clicks? Like, how do we evaluate the success of one of these articles? If people aren't looking to have comparisons and reviews on certain classes of products, it may still be a top selling item in that category. But if people don't click on the reviews, these editorial reviews, then something must be going on. So take us through how that works.
Yeah. So, and that's also one of the things that, Amazon evaluates for how long an article will stay up also, right? So it really all depends on the performance of the listings that are in the article. And the performance is usually based off sales velocity, conversions, the clicks that the articles get, and overall health of each listing, right? If one of the listings in the article just runs out of stock one day, then obviously Amazon is not incentivized to keep showing that article with no stock in one of the listings. So overall, that's what they look at to continue to keep an article live for months on end.
So in a matter of months, a lot can change within a category. I think of some of the electronic categories I've seen where practically every day you go in, there's a different set of top selling items.
Yeah.
While you may have many dozens of brands that meet the minimum requirements to be eligible for editorial review, the fact that an editorial review article can stay up for months on end, how does that work when all the organic search results are changing out much more often than the review articles?
Yeah. So another important point about these articles is that there can be, let's use electronics, right? There could be 100 articles that exist for a specific electronic product. Take a phone charger, right?
Okay.
But there's so many variation of different keywords around the phone charger where different articles can live. So it is very keyword specific, right? So the organic ranks, the sponsor ranks, all the ranks are constantly moving, of course, based off of keywords, and the articles play right into that. So most of the time, you go on Amazon search and you type in a word and you add another word, a simple word to the end of that keyword, and all of a sudden you'll see a completely new article.
Yeah.
Right. So there can be many articles that live within a specific product, but it goes based off the keywords.
So let's say I do get my article to be posted on Amazon. What are you seeing in terms of the typical length of time that an article will remain on Amazon, assuming it is in stock, assuming people are clicking on the article and so on?
Yeah. So a lot of what we've seen is a lot of what we know, just to be fully transparent, is based off of averages, right? And what the publishers communicate to us, because again, just to be clear, we are not the ones turning on the article or turning off the article. So we can just speak to our experience and our knowledge of the program. But we've seen and we've been told articles usually last close to 6 to 12 months. Okay, now obviously that's a pretty wide range from 6 to 12 months. And that's where all the variables that I mentioned earlier come into play.
So what am I as a brand going to be paying to have my article show up for 6 to 12 months? Who's being paid? And how do I think about the economics of that as a brand to figure out whether it's even worth my spending that kind of money to have that editorial review coverage?
Yeah. So the details of the process is pretty simple. Okay. So we like to lay it out like this. The client is only paying Riverbend in the case that the article goes live. Okay. So let's just take, for example, you had a product, you had a listing that has 1,000 reviews, 4-star rating, and it's ranked 3,000 in your category.
Sure.
Okay. You say, Jack, I want to submit this listing. We take that listing, we send it to the publishers. Okay. Nothing is charged to you yet. You can submit whatever you'd like. There's no charge yet. What we do is we ask the publishers, we put it in front of them. Now that listing is on their radar. We monitor the listing and with the publisher. If they choose to write the article, we know it was picked up. We still wait for Amazon to load the article on their first page. And once they do that, then we collect a fee from the client for a broker, sort of like a PR firm, a broker's fee, a middleman. So you're the publisher paying.
I'm sorry. Please continue.
You're basically paying for our relationship and to get you in front of those publishers. The publishers you're not paying the publishers to write your article because, again, they could simply say no, right? They have a choice.
So what's in it for the publisher as part of this process?
So in the beginning, right, we mentioned that Amazon gives these publishers commissions for all the sales that come from these articles, right?
Yep.
So they're always looking for quality listings. That's what their agenda is, right? They want commissions, so they're going to go after good listings, which is why, like I said earlier, the positions are usually filled with top brands with a lot of reviews and good ranking. So what we're doing is we're broadening their reach, right? So instead of them relying on their team to search for listings on Amazon, we're searching for them and saying, hey, this is a great listing.
Yep.
Why don't you add it? And if they add it, they know that they're getting affiliate commissions from Amazon.
So the brand is not paying that affiliate commission. Amazon pays that commission. The brand would only be paying your fee for having brokered the deal in the first place.
Exactly. Okay. And if anyone who sees an editorial article, there is actually a button right next to editorial article that says earns commissions. And if you click that, Amazon clearly states they pay these publishers affiliate commissions for the sales in these spots.
What is your experience around how long it typically takes from the time that you put forward a SKU to an editorial review writer? How long does it typically take to learn whether you're in or not, or at least whether they're going to write an article and send it on to Amazon for the next step of evaluation?
Yeah, so the full timeline to get a product live on Amazon through the article, assuming everything was approved, is about 4 to 8 weeks. Okay. Now the breakdown is it usually takes about 1 to 2 weeks for the publishers to let us know that they're writing the article, which means that they brought it in and they approved it.
Yes.
And then the bulk of the time, another 3 to 6 weeks or so, it's in Amazon's hands, and we're just waiting for them to upload it.
So if you've got articles that are staying on the site for 6 to 12 months, it feels to me like it's going to be hard to fight who might already have an article in place.
You're saying if there's an existing article,
sure,
in that
same keywords and so on and so forth.
Yeah. So again, it's a good question. If it's keyword specific and Amazon matches up the new article to an existing article for the same keyword or keywords, again, they would just share the space, right? So assuming it's a high search keyword, there's a lot of searches to go around. So this article will be a certain percent of the time for that keyword, and this article will be a certain percent of that time for that keyword as well.
So you may search as a customer, you may search the same terms over a period of a couple of days, over a week, and you could see different editorial reviews for different products, even though it's in exactly the same category, exactly the same search terms.
Yeah. Well, it'll all be the same product types, but it'll be completely different articles. Now, there's sometimes certain products do overlap on multiple articles. So the beauty about the program is if you submit your listing with us and we give that listing to the publishers, so we did two things. One, hopefully we get you one article, which you submitted for.
Yes.
But the best case scenario, which happens a lot, is now this listing is on the publisher's radar. So we don't need to continue to send it to them for them to pick you up organically, which we don't charge for, obviously. That's a benefit. But like I said, the listing is on their radar. So in another 3 months, you might see 3 organic articles for your product that you were never displayed for before.
Talk to me a little bit about the different types of products that are shown on the same editorial review banner. You talked about there being at least 3 products that we visually see. Take me through those and take me through the parts that we don't even see.
Yeah. So I would say on average, a full article is usually about 5 listings. Okay. Now there's 3 that we see on the front end. Okay. So the ones that land on Amazon's first page, that big box in the middle of the page called editorial recommendations. There'll be 3 products. First, second, third, usually a different title or different banner for each listing. It could be, best for ages less than 5, best for teens, and best for adults, or whatever the product is. Now the other listings can be seen in one of 2 ways. One, there's usually an arrow at the end of the article, and you could click it and it'll show you the other 2. Or there's a button on the bottom of the article on Amazon's page where it says read full article. And you click that button and it takes you to the actual article that was written about the product. So the full article, there's pictures, there's write-ups, and then you'll see all the listings. Now, I do want to mention, if we onboard a client and we get them into an article, if they are displayed in any of the positions outside of the main 3, we don't even consider that a successful listing, and we will either try again or request the publishers edit that existing article.
So let's spend a minute and talk about how unbiased are these editorials? There are different people making money along the way. If I were to compare this to, say, a Consumer Reports evaluation that looks at products within a category. How do Amazon editorial reviews compare with, the consumer reports versus the black hat techniques that some of us unfortunately have had to deal with? Where does it fit in, and how should consumers be thinking about the quality and the unbiasedness of the information that's being presented in those articles?
Yeah. And honestly, I'm happy you asked that, because a lot of people have concerns about that question. And the basic understanding is it is completely unbiased, right? As much as that might be surprising to hear, Amazon offers these publishers commissions for the sales that get into that spot. Now, yes, obviously they're incentivized to choose better listings. Okay. Mm-hmm. So that is the incentive. Now, in terms of being biased or unbiased through using Riverbend, let's say, to getting into this program.
Yep.
Again, all Riverbend is doing is broadening the reach for listings for these publishers. It's their choice at the end of the day. We have multiple clients who've submitted, who've gotten declined, and obviously some that submitted that do get through. But again, it's completely up to the publishers. We have no influence over the content, over what they choose to write. These publishers, they'll write pros and cons about certain listings. They do their own research.
Yep.
We're totally outside of any decision whatsoever. And again, we only charge for the relationship that we have.
So do we know if the companies that are writing these reviews, do we know if they're actually doing comprehensive reviews of the products? As in they're buying the product, they're checking out how the product works and doesn't work? Do you know anything about how that process works?
So I've been told that, one of the requirements for a client to submit with us is not to send a sample, right? So we don't send a sample to the publishers. However, we've been told that the publishers on their own can choose to buy the product and use that as part of their review. But most of the times, I believe that these publishers are analyzing and researching the brand either on Amazon and off Amazon. So they'll read the reviews that they have. They'll analyze the content that the client chose to put in his title, in his bullet point, in his description. They'll look at his A+ content, and they'll get a feel for the product and the brand. And then they'll write their own write-up on it.
So you've talked about what Riverbend is doing in terms of building the relationship with these different review organizations, submitting pre-qualified, pre-curated products for them to evaluate. Take me through, in the time that you've participated in editorial reviews, what have you learned that surprised you the most about how this program is or isn't helping brands to sell more product?
Yeah, I think the most important thing we've learned, or at least I've learned over the course of being in the program, is in the beginning, we were under the impression that as long as listings meet those requirements that we and the publisher set in place, the review count, the rating, and so on. Right. As long as they hit that, they all had the same chance of doing well, because obviously, they're on the first page and they're getting a lot of clicks, and everyone should do awesome, right? We found out very quickly that for listings to do well in the program, not only do they need to meet the requirements, but like I mentioned earlier, it needs to be a high quality listing. It needs to be a listing that you're always pushing on, off Amazon, deals, coupons, PPC. Editorial should not be used as a substitute to any other marketing initiatives that a seller has going on. It should be an additive. It's a catalyst to continue growing your business. And especially in ways that you might not be able to access through Seller Central or through anything else.
In what ways do you believe these reviews are worth the effort for brands to submit their products to get considered? Is it just a sales play?
Yeah, it's a good question. Honestly, it is not. I think sales I wouldn't even consider the main benefit to the program. I think brand recognition, building brand equity, like I mentioned earlier, that perceived value that you just can't get from an organic or sponsored listing. Yeah. Buyers today are too smart to know that, you could have given away product, or you could have, paid a ridiculous amount of money on PPC to be there. They're smart these days, right? So editorial, yes, you're on the first page, you're going to get sales. Okay. But that's not the only benefit. Your brand is being seen next to the biggest brands in the category. You're being seen in a different light, and the halo effect to that specific listing and just your overall brand can be, extremely, extremely, overwhelming and successful.
Take me through, since the start of this program, how has Amazon modified the program?
So it's funny because we're always looking at, the search page and seeing if editorials come up in a different way, in a different position. Over the past year and few months, we've seen a few interesting things that we think Amazon has been testing.
Okay.
We don't know if it's going to be something permanent, but like, for example, I've came across multiple articles being the first position on the first page. Okay. So ahead of sponsored, it'll be the first banner you see on the first page. I've also seen it in the middle of the page where instead of having one row of 3 listings, it had 2 full rows right under each other showing 6 listings. So again, I also think that besides placement, I think Amazon is going to figure out a way to leverage these publishers a little bit more than they're currently doing. People today are running after influencers and off Amazon,
Right.
Things, and now Amazon Live, like these things are coming. And I think Amazon has a very big opportunity with these publishers to sort of cater to those needs of sellers.
If you were in charge of this program at Amazon, what would you do differently?
That's a good question. I would do a few things differently. The first thing I would change, or at least add, would be data. Okay, because one of the most frustrating things on Amazon is if you don't see the data and you don't see what's happening, right, to your investment. So, and I can relate to our clients because the only thing that we show them, which obviously is great, is sales. So we actually have a dashboard that we give all our clients, and it shows them direct sales from the article. But it doesn't show clicks. It doesn't show impressions, conversion rates, click-through rates, anything like your standard business report on Amazon would show you. And I think that would add a lot to the program, in my opinion.
So this makes it challenging for a brand that's your client, seeing that you're telling them, well, you sold 100 units and you owe us this much because we helped you sell 100 units versus we helped you sell 1,000 units. Amazon is tracking exactly how many sales come through the editorial review versus PPC versus organic.
Yeah. So and that's another thing. It's only the direct sales, right? You can't, that the client would analyze on their own, the halo effect, if they can, right? It's not easy because they're doing so many things during 6 months to help the sales. You can't always attribute the increase in organic sales just to editorial, even though I believe that it does affect it in a big way. And then honestly, besides from data, another thing that I would say is the frequency that these articles show up for a given keyword. It also, sometimes you'll type in a keyword and you'll type in that same keyword 2 hours later and the article won't be there, and just people are like, what's happening? Is my article down? So I think they're still learning how the editorial article fits in within their algorithm. And I think things will only get better, in my opinion, because of how well it's been doing for them.
Will you take us through an example, redacted brand example of a company that was pleasantly surprised by what they found in this program? As I think about any new program on Amazon, we all go into it saying, okay, I'll try something out, but I don't really know what's on the other side of this trial. What can you share with us of a client experience that worked out well for everyone?
Yeah. We actually had a client who did exactly that. One of our first clients. And honestly, I advise all clients to do this. So they tested the program with a few listings, about 2 or 3 listings. They're a large seller. They do a lot of business. Their listings that they submitted had a nice amount of reviews. It was ranked pretty well. And I believe that they were doing a decent sized business. After about 2 months into the program, the following month, they started doing around $100,000 a month for each of their listings in just direct sales from the article.
Wow.
Okay. And what that did was, besides for the sales, right, which obviously that's a very big number,
Yes.
But besides from the sales, we on our own, because I was just curious, I analyzed their rank. Okay. So I went into their listing, obviously using an extension, looking at their rank over the time, that we had the article live. And it went from a little over 4,000 in the category to at a point it was under 800 in the category. Okay, so it was a significant rank drop. And it didn't stay at the 800 consistently for the next 5 months, but it leveled out at about 1,500 to 2,000, right? So the net return was from about 4,000 to 2,000, but they had about 1 to 2 months where they were 800. And that's why obviously the sales, were coming in were just tremendous.
Do you find that the conversion that comes from traffic on editorials is meaningfully different than conversion that comes from organic traffic?
So it's tough to answer because we don't really get any access to conversion rates. However, in my opinion, I would say the click, right, and the buyer who's entering into that article and entering into that listing from the article already got into the listing thinking that this is a quality product. The publisher BuzzFeed or Forbes or New Health or whatever these publishers are, they published about this product and said it was a good product. I'm clicking in and I'm sort of already sold. So I can imagine that the conversion rates, which is why I really would love Amazon to give us the conversion rates, but I can assume that they're much higher than an organic and of course a sponsored placement.
So if I'm a brand that has products that meet the minimum criteria that we're talking about, can you give me reasons why I shouldn't be trying out this program today?
So, the salesman in me is going to say no, of course. But the truth is, listen, if you have a listing or listings that are there, in terms of reviews, in terms of rank, in terms of, what you're doing for that listing on a day-to-day basis.
Yes.
I always like to analyze things, risk and reward, right? So the fees that we charge to test the program, okay, first of all, you don't pay anything unless it actually is successful. Okay, so that's the first thing, okay? The next thing is the setup fee that we charge is usually recovered within the first few months, if not sooner, in the program. And then the rest of the fees is just a rev share, right? So there's no out-of-pocket expense.
Yep.
So the risk of being on an editorial, right, and paying and being there for about 6 to 12 months, in my opinion, is at worst break even, at worst. Mm-hmm. And the potential reward, I think, is obvious. You found a program which you were never even willing to try that you could give out to all your listings.
So I want to finish with one more question around, let's say I have 100 products that meet the requirements. Realistically, do you want clients coming to you with hundreds of products all to have articles written on?
It depends, I would say. If you have 100 products and it's really 2 different product types and you're just a seller who constantly makes new variations of the same product, but instead of putting it in the same listing, you're creating new listings, to try and capitalize the market share for the first page of that product or something like that, I wouldn't advise doing all 100, okay? Because you won't be giving each listing the best chance to succeed because you're spreading yourself too thin. If you had 100 products and you covered 100 different categories, then by all means, you're as if you're 100 different clients at 100 different products. So there would be no reason not to. It would only be if you're overlapping and you wouldn't want to spread yourself thin.
Jack, I want to thank you for joining us today on the BuyBox Experts podcast. For those of you interested in learning more about Riverbend Consulting, please visit riverbendconsulting.com. Join us again next time on the BuyBox Experts podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by Getida. Getida is a global leader in Amazon FBA auditing and reimbursements. Getida analyzes your Amazon data, reconciles your FBA inventory, and files claims for reimbursements on your behalf. No obligations, no hidden fees, just Getida recovering your money. Getida helps you get your money back into your pockets so you can focus on investing in more inventory and growing your business. To learn more, check out Getida.com. That's GETIDA.com.
Thanks for listening to the Buy Box Experts podcast. Be sure to click subscribe, check us out on the web, and we'll see you next time.